In this video, we're going to be taking a look and ranking every single 3 threat in the game right now of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. We are carrying on our series looking and ranking each of the characters in the game right now. We're going to be going on to 3 threats. So this is definitely going to be part 1. We are going to split it down into 2 videos. And joining me as ever is Mr. Quinn Duggan. Quinn, how the hell are you doing, sir?
I'm having an existential crisis about how many 3 threats there are.
How many 3 threats there are. I don't know yet if there are more 4 threats, because 2023 and the first part of 24 was very much the years of the 3 threats. But yeah, 3 threats. Sorry, of the 4 threats even. So, but yeah, there is a lot. There is a lot. So as I say, we are going to break this down into 2 separate videos. This will be part 1, and then we'll finish it off in part 2. 3 threats are interesting, Quinn, aren't they? Because for me, they're the ones that often make up the bulk of your roster, because it gives you that flexibility. You often have multiple 3 threats to do slightly different things depending on who you're playing against, depending on what the map setup is. What are you looking for in a 3 threat character when you're playing, and when you may be picking those? Because I think it's fair to say usually 3 or 4 3 threats in a roster is what you're going for.
Yeah, I mean, I'd put the minimum kind of at 4. Like, I'd very happily run 5 just to go 5 wide at 15. What do I look for? It's a very different question to the 2 threat. What do you look for, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
2 threats, much more limited in scope. It was grab a thing, stand on a point. That is like the minimum of what a 3 threat should be doing. A 3 threat should actually be affecting the game by doing stuff on its turns. And honestly, I don't think there is a right answer for what you want a 3 threat to do, because there are so many different flavors of what they can do. I think I'd argue I'd want like a combination of 2 of like several different aspects of, like, you know, output, offensive output, survivability, support effects like strategic genius, and control, right? You want minimum 2 of those 4 things in my mind.
Yeah, I would agree. And I often look at it and go, okay, I've got this 3 threat that does X, Y, and Z, and they're going to work in this situation, whereas this 3 threat, well, that can also work here, but they do 2 slightly different things, whether it's displacement. I think a character and terrain throw on a 3 threat really bumps them up, because they seem to be, even on some of the bigger models now, right, the higher threat characters, they seem to be stopping giving character throws from superpowers on a lot of bigger characters. I think you're absolutely right. Survivability, you don't want them to be able to go down very quickly. Or if they're maybe not as defensively minded, you've got something you can do with them that is big the next round, the next round that you play, where they can come back with all that power and do multiple things and really have a big impact on the board. But yeah, there's a big spread of them. There's a lot to go through. Let's take a quick look at the tier list. I think when S through to D is normal, but I think S tier is going to be, again, those just extremely good characters. You see them not only, they're not only a staple in their given affiliation, but they're good enough that you see people take them as splash characters, because they fill a certain role, right? I'm going to pick one off the bat. Zemo, for example, with his strategic genius, giving everybody else rerolls. Characters that like that can have an impact. Or maybe they bring a tactics card with them that all of a sudden bumps them up as well, because that's something I think we need to consider a little bit more now in the game, because those generic anyone can use them cards are just kind of disappearing off the face of the game.
I do like how you said "or," even though Zemo himself also brings a stupidly good tactic card because he's kind of the whole package.
He does now as well, yeah. Oh, and also, even if he took his rerolls away from him, he's still a very good character because he's a long move charger. So yeah, I think A tier Quinn is going to be, in affiliation, they do really, really well.
They're typically your first 3-threat pick in affiliation.
First 3-threat pick in affiliation, yeah. B tier is going to be absolutely perfectly fine, perfectly serviceable. C tier is going to be, I think they're fine, but I think the extra thing we can add in here is that there are just better choices, because most affiliations have got a number of 3-threats they can pick from. And it's just that, they're perfectly fine, they're playable, but actually there's a character or two at the same threat level that are just better options than them. And then D tier is going to be, look, these characters need a little bit of work. As we always say, though, Quinn, in MCP, when we put a character into D tier, they could be 1 stamina away from being perfectly serviceable, perfectly fine. It's often small numbers, isn't it, that we're looking at. So let's jump in then, Quinn. Let's start. And let's start with Mr. Warren Worthington III. I think the newest, or at least one of the newest additions to the 3-threat category. I don't think he's still out here in the UK, is he?
No, him and Archangel haven't actually made landfall yet, have they?
Which was weird that he didn't come to stores the same time as Apocalypse.
Right.
They are
different
kind of
votes, I'd guess.
Who knows with AMG anymore? Who knows? Look, 3s across the board, 5 stamina, which I think is almost a bit of this is your cut and paste where they start from, and that's kind of the baseline. Yeah, size 2, medium move. I also want to say he's on a medium base.
Is he?
I think he is. Yeah, just thinking about. I know what Archangel is, but I'm pretty sure he's on a medium base. I think he is. 50
mil says that he is.
Yeah, 50 mil base. So that medium move is slightly better. Fly by it to beam. It's great for power generation. Because he's doing a guaranteed power on each one. His things are really around movement of characters, aren't they? You've got airlift, where you can move one of your own characters. They've got to be size 2 though, which is fine, but it would have been nice for that to be size 3. And then hostile takeover, where you get to push an enemy character when you start a move action towards him, which, with the way that movement works in this game, can be all sorts of different directions. Healing factor 1, and then flight, as you would expect. Healing factor now just has, for me, far less
it just does not matter.
Value, value behind it, especially on a character that only has 5 stamina. On his backside, he does remain exactly the same, so he doesn't get that 1 extra stamina, giving him only 10 in total rather than 11 that some of the characters have, not all of them. He's in X-Men. He's in other places as well.
Is he?
I don't know, actually. I think he might. I think he's just X-Men, isn't he? Yeah, he's just X-Men.
I mean, there is something to be said about being a 50 mil base in X-Men for cheap.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Previously a position that only Beast occupied. Now you've got Angel as an option. It is also, because you skipped over it a little bit, Spender isn't bad. Guaranteed size 3 throw. For 3 power is pretty good.
Yeah, and a stun on a wild, which is nice. Omnidirectional throw as well.
Yeah.
Which might not sound like a big thing, but the value goes up so much more because you can throw them anywhere you want rather than
Especially if you're in like close quarters, it means you can throw through yourself, potentially
exactly.
get someone off a point.
Yeah, exactly. You do need to be quite close because of that medium base. I think you need to be within like range 1 for that to
I'd imagine
work.
it's closer than range one, probably.
Yeah, maybe because of the size of the base, but yeah, even so. So a lot of displacement. I think he's perfectly fine in X-Men. I don't think, for me, where he probably sits better is he feels a bit like more like a Storm character than
Then it's
th-
Cyclops, yeah.
than a
I mean,
Cyclops.
to be fair, Flyby with a joint effort is pretty good.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, you
that's
suddenly bump up the number of dice that beam is rolling. He's also not bad with Charles because he has, like, two abilities that he can spend power on.
yeah to start the whole trigger thing of moving things
Well,
along.
he can't start it, but he can be a cog
Sorry,
in the
it can be
machine.
part of it and do it. Yeah. I think he's fine, Quinn. I think when you look at him and what he does, I think there's another 3 threat in this list that I think just that is a very similar designed character. You probably know who I mean, but
Yeah.
just does things a little bit better in the form of
I'd
Vulture.
argue there are two very similar characters to him, and both are actually better, I
Yeah,
guess.
but I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I think he's a
No?
perfectly serviceable 3 threat, and I think middle of the road B tier is probably where
Like,
he should
he's
be.
a very good character to start this list off with.
He is. He is. He's a good
Like,
grounding
he's a
character.
good benchmark.
He's got all the stats that you want to see, right? And yeah, I think he's fine. Does he have any cards, Quinn? I can't.
Yeah, he can turn into Archangel, right?
He can turn into Archangel.
Yeah, isn't it when he like flips over, he can pay a certain amount of power and become Archangel? I think
Is
that's
that a
the thing he
thing?
does. Yeah,
Ultimate sacrifice.
there you go. That's it.
Whether an allied character within 2 of an allied angel is targeted by attack.
Oh no, it'll be a different one. It'll
No,
be Fallen.
he has a bodyguard card.
Oh, does he have like a hero for hire as well?
So yeah, when an allied character within 2 of an allied angel is targeted by an attack, he may spend 2 power. Angel becomes the target. If Angel is dazed or KO'd, remove up to 3 damage and all special conditions from the allied character.
That's a little bit gross. Like it being range 2 is like, a significant limiter on that, but still.
No, but it's 2 within an Angel, right? So it's your allied character within 2 of Angel. So you're not measuring from the person attacking. But even so, I mean, I don't think the card or his other one.
I mean,
What was his other one that you said, Quinn?
Fallen, he turns into Archangel.
Is that enough to bump him up? He goes from a 3 threat to a 4 threat character.
But it's
With
still an injured full threat character.
It is an injured one. And let's talk about then the opportunity cost, right? But I gather, you use the bodyguard on him, and then hey, you've decided that you've got to, you've taken Angel out. Does he drop his activated token if he has one?
Well, no, because it's when he flips his card, not when he gets downed.
Okay, right.
So in cleanup,
when he
he would
flips.
flip,
Okay.
you play the card. All enemies within 2 of him
Get
pushed
bleeding
away,
and pushed away.
and you place Archangel down. Archangel doesn't have to be in your roster.
He doesn't.
He might get a bump, to be fair.
Maybe we've been
Right.
sitting on Angel. I don't know.
He gets a bump to B plus by virtue of the fact that he doesn't have enough affiliations for him to be a. Because he's not a character you splash it, regardless of how good those cards are.
Yeah, he's not. No, and I also want to say that that is 2 of your 5 tactics cards that you are taking, and 2 tactics cards for a 3 threat. yes, he turns into a 4, but for a 3 threat is a lot. And I suppose at least with his bodyguard card, your opponent, because your opponent could just ignore him, right? And never let you do this. So you've got a dead card. So you almost need to take the bodyguard card to then
In order to force him to die.
him to do it. But yeah, I don't think it bumps him up to A. I think you're absolutely right. I think it means that at the end of this, he will probably end up more towards the top of
end of B
than the other one. But yeah, I think that is fair. And then B, Quinn, stands for
Battlebound, which is a card the other version of him can play.
Perfect. Yes. You could take Archangel cards as well, because there's nothing to stop you putting Archangel's cards.
There's nothing to stop you taking like Battlebound or Death from Above and just really hoping your opponent leans into the bit.
Anyway, let's move on, Quinn, to Ant-Man. 3-2-3 stat line. 5 stamina on his front, and I think 5 stamina on his back. So already kind of below, that sort of standard that we said. I just have a couple of issues with Ant-Man. Like, he just doesn't do enough. Yes, he's got some janky things he can go with.
He can move real far.
Right? There was and I still think it's a viable play with Criminal Syndicate. He can get to an opponent's back point very, very easily. But he's just so squishy. You don't really see him played in any of the Avengers list, which I think is his only affiliation, I want to say.
Yeah.
So,
as a point in his defense, Bullet and Barrage is an amazing spender.
Bullet and Barrage is a good one. I mean, Poison and Stun as well is just brutal for power generation. Yeah. But I just think I just hate that he drops everything when he transforms as well. So
yeah, it makes it very difficult to keep an objective on him.
Yeah.
If Pin Particle Punch was like 5 dice range 3, that could be like the little tweak he needs.
Yeah.
Because like it makes sense for it to be like a higher ranged attack because he's like morphing in and out of like sizes. Yeah. And like ant-sized uppercut being his only attack when small and being range 1 is a bit rough as well. I know it's 6 dice out of 3, but
yeah, but range 1 though is brutal.
Range 1, and he's got a short move if he's in tiny form.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a free range 3 place, but still.
He also doesn't have flight as well, which he's riding a wasp. Riding a flying ant. Like,
yeah, the ant has fly, not him, mate.
No, but it feels like he should be on it.
Hitch a Ride lets him ignore terrain by moving on the ant. There you
go. There we go. Does he have any tactics cards to speak of? He does have pin particles.
It's a size 3 terrain throw. Medium for 2 power.
And don't get me wrong, that is quite nice. But as a tactics card, as a one-time use...
It's not something you're taking in your 5. Like, as with a lot of tactic cards, especially like character tactic cards, it's like, if I had 6 or 7 slots to play these in the game, maybe.
They may come into it, yeah. So I think it's fair to say he's under the curve, Quinn. I'm going to say, I think he can, because there is a place for him in Crimson, and he can actually do a pretty good job in there. Whilst, he's not great in any of his under any of the leaders, and there are definitely so many 3-threat characters ahead of him in Avengers.
He's not bad in Sam Spam. I know he was definitely like seen in Sam Spam.
Yeah, okay. Right. Sam Spam is probably the one But is Samspan really prevalent at the moment in the game? With
Well, nothing other than Asgard is prevalent in the game at the minute. Especially now that AMG have restricted researchers, so all the attrition teams can't take it to help fight Asgard.
Yeah, unless you're me, and I still do. I think he does enough to keep himself out of D, but is towards the.
I would argue he does enough to keep himself out of C as well.
Oh,
I think
really?
he's B minus. I think he is perfectly fine. I would not question someone if I looked at their roster and saw Ant-Man in it. I think that's where C lies, where you're like, what's that for? Like, Ant-Man's just
Okay.
a solid character.
Okay. Let's. I've given you one. We'll see how the others go. And B would be for
Baskin Robbins.
Baskin Robbins.
Only reason I wanted him in B. Not really. He does deserve to be there.
A character you've got a lot more experience with, at least playing, than I have. Mr. Arnim Zola. Brings a really nice tactics card as well.
Only in Hydra.
Only in Hydra, but let's be honest, whilst other affiliations are available, I feel like that is his best place.
By far and away, it's his best place.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4, so still a combination of 9, but, split slightly differently. He can give out rerolls. He's immune to bleed and poison, which are big things. He's a face in a robot.
I think the face might still be robot. Isn't it just like a Teletubby TV screen?
I think it could be, yeah. 6 stamina, so 12 stamina in total. He's really nice.
He's tankier than a number of 4 threats.
Yeah, and he's also, because of that range 4 attack, he's also a bit more of a back point holder as well, isn't he? So it's less prevalent. He is size 3.
Not only is he backline, he can give himself the rerolls.
He can, so yeah, absolutely.
Whilst he's 2-3-4, he's 2-3-4 with the potential for rerolls, and he doesn't suffer the negative effect that his rerolls could potentially give because he's immune to that condition.
Let's also talk about prototype weapons. Whilst it says physical on there, you can choose any of them. So whatever your opponent's weakest is, even though it's only 4 dice, you can choose what the best one is going to be for him, and he can dish out multiple conditions in an attack because it's per wild. And bleed, shock, slow, and stun are all pretty good.
And it's a flat gainer with him having scientific hubris.
Yeah. So potentially gaining 2 power from that if he gets the crit. He's pretty darn good. I really like him, Quinn. I know you really like him. I think his tactics card. Let's just run over his tactics cards, Quinn.
Yeah.
Because I think that's worth doing. Scientific method, is it called?
Scientific method, yeah.
Yeah, so ESP leakage, you basically choose a character with that is 3 or less threat, and they get the attack ESP leakage.
They also roll extra dice unless your opponent pays the tax, and it only costs him 2, which with that range 4 attack being a flat gainer, if someone comes a little too close early doors, he can get that on someone before they activate, and if, say for instance, they're a healing factor character...
Let's say if they're X23, Quinn, shall we?
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, they can get that. And, ESP leakage, giving a character like X23, for example, that is very physical based, she's got her rerolls, and for every every failure in the defense roll, they're going to suffer a damage as well. It's really good. It's really, really good. I'm going to let you say first, Quinn, and then I'll sort of interject if I disagree.
I mean, I feel like you might initially, but I want to put Arnim Zola in A.
Oh,
because
no disagreement. That's where I was going to put him.
There we go. Because whilst you don't seem splashed anywhere, and you don't really see him in his other affiliation being Cabal, I think you should. I think people sleep on Arnim Zola. He is absolutely amazing.
I have been thinking about potentially putting him into my Dracula list.
He gives out bleed. He
Because he
can
gives out bleed.
move people with his spender. Like,
He's
he
also
gives
got the
out
ability to
rerolls.
stack other conditions as well, which makes
Yeah.
that bleed even more prevalent because you can't just get rid of it. Yeah, no, A for me is where I was thinking of him. I think he's perfectly fine. I also think he is the 3 threat of choice in Hydra.
I mean, there's a long list of 3 threats in Hydra. Let's put it this way: you're taking him over Sin and Viper.
You are taking him over Sin and Viper, yes. And Crossbones, is he's Hydra, right?
Yeah, Crossbones is probably in there. I don't care enough to know. I should tell you all you need to know about Crossbones.
Both flavors. A is for
Arnim.
Arnim. Right, there we go. Baron Mordo next.
Can't be creative on all of them, okay? Like, sometimes you just gotta let it slide.
Fair. Carl Amadeus Mordo. Very, very mystic based, as you would expect. 2/4/4, 6 stamina on his front, 5 stamina on his back, and you look at it and go, yeah, okay, that two physical is not very good. It's not,
I mean,
but obviously
kind of just the
it's
complication problem, right? Like,
yeah, it's
they don't like
complication.
things thrown at them.
Yeah.
And our lad Carl is no different.
Dishes out a hell of a lot of conditions, can burst conditions out as well, which is pretty cool. Has the ability to add dice to an attack. Can move back onto a point if he's pushed off, which is quite nice. Has the ability to gain 2 power, so he's not a bad kind of first activation. As we spoke, didn't we, in the 2 threats about a dead activation or a waste activation, so you can do that as well. Range 3, range 4 attacks. I think he's fine. Like,
yeah,
I think he, medium base, medium move, flight. Like, he's fine. Like,
I think Mordo's a really interesting character because he's someone you actually do see splashed.
You
but
do.
I don't think you ever see him splashed by people who are like, by people who have a more intimate knowledge of the game, right? They typically he ends up being splashed by people who read his card but don't get a great deal of table time. Because they're like, oh, you can roll extra dice and you can do this and you can do that. And it's like, those things would be great if he didn't feel like such a dead activation when you go with him, you know? Like,
yeah.
And I don't
He's
know
got
what
some
it is
things
that
he
you
can
need
do.
to give him. Like,
I mean, the thing is, he can sit on a back point turn 1, gain 2 power, and then you've got a guaranteed 4 power for Reigns of Ragador turn 2 or round 2, which guaranteed incinerate and poison is quite nice. Setup dependent, they might already have incinerate if it's demons, but I think he's fine. I think you do see him in Convocation quite a bit. He's also in Cabal, I want to say,
Cabal.
where I don't think you really see him in Cabal much.
No, I mean, I think the only place you really should see him is Convocation.
And Convocation does help with his mystic, with his physical defense as well, right? Because he gets to turn things into mystic, which is less prevalent now as well.
That he just had like an extra attack dice on Living Tribunal, like just making it 5 as his like builder, and then he's got the range 4 gainer as an option. But like being locked to 4 dice unless you're doing the spender is rough.
Yeah, and it does mean that if it was 5 dice, you've got that little bit of an extra chance to get the wild and get the push.
And get the push, yeah, even though it's limited to size 2. Ferocity of Sisarak doing damage to characters is actually pretty rough a lot of the time because, like, in MCP, that damage is, there are fewer and fewer ways each, like, mini extravaganza to get rid of damage, it feels.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
it does add up a lot if you get a bit too happy with using that ability.
Yeah, there are certain characters who don't mind about it, but yeah, I do think it is a little rough. Again, I think he's fine. I think for, Cabal, you don't really see him. Convocation, he's probably going to be there. I feel like he's middle of the road, but towards the bottom end, probably below Ant-Man, I would say, of B. Or do you think he just doesn't quite do enough to keep himself out of C?
I think he can probably eke out a living in the bottom rung of B. Like
I think that's fair.
he's a character that's in the game, Like
Yeah.
he's there.
It's if somebody takes him, I'm not looking across at them and going, "Is there something I don't know?" Like, it's like, "Oh, cool, cool." Baron Mordo, I'll just throw stuff at him and punch him, and take him away, take him out of the game that way. Okay, Quinn, and B, by the way, is for
Barony of Varth Mandra,
okay.
where he's a baron of. You thought I was just going to say baron.
I thought you were just going to say Baron. Yeah.
No, I did my research.
We've got a lot of Hydra characters early doors, Quinn. Mr. Von Strucker, so Wolfgang von Strucker,
He's
aka
baron, mate.
AKA
he didn't earn that title, but he was born into it.
He was born into it. Baron Strucker, one of the two leaders. I think only two leaders of Hydra still. Oh, there's three because there's
shit Zemo.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm going to say, Quinn, that his leadership just keeps getting better and better. Because
it is by far and away my favourite leadership in this game, just because it does something interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
and also the fact that
sea of like re-roll a die leaderships, that is a diamond in the rough, let me tell you.
Well, and I also think with Apocalypse, with Dracula, with Mephisto, lots of condition-focused things. They're just like, yeah, cool, have that back. Like, yeah, that bleed you gave me. Yeah, I don't think I will. Strategic Genius, we already spoke about that, right? And how good it is. 4-3-3 stat line, so above the curve. 5-6 stamina or 5-5 stamina.
5-5, but with healing factor and a spender that heals as well.
Yeah. And the ability to heal from his, leadership as well. Yeah. He's pretty good, Quinn. He is pretty darn good.
Adore Strucker. That's mainly because Strucker just rolls good for me. Arrogance is not to be understated as an ability. Like, when you have sufficient enough dice pools, both of you being able to count skulls is so much better for an attacker than it is a defender.
Yeah. Well, because you're generally rolling more attack dice than you are defense dice, right?
Which means you've got higher odds of rolling skulls, which then means that you've got higher odds of that impacting you. But also, it makes him really good against characters like Scarlet Witch, who are already counting skulls.
Yeah.
Or characters like Domino, or whoever else who have conversion abilities. He doesn't care. He just gets the benefit. It's brilliant.
And the Incinerate as well. So, dishing out that Incinerate and then doing Arrogance. And
Incinerate he can fish for as well with Strategic Genius.
Yeah. I'm going to place him first, and then we'll see where you put him. I think the one thing that keeps Strucker out of S, there's a couple of things.
I think there's a few.
He doesn't bring a good tactics card, and that is something we said that we would take into consideration as well. I think he is just Hydra, right? You don't see Strucker splashed anywhere else, even in Cabal, which I think he's part of as well.
He's. I mean, I've seen Phil splash him, but
let's not use that as a barometer.
Well, once again, I think he falls into the Zola thing of he's not splash, but arguably he should.
I just think that strategic genius, there's another one on here, we're coming up to him next, it just does it a little bit better.
Let's be honest, if that character had ever received a balance pass like they arguably should have, there's actually a conversation to be had there, you know?
Fair. So I think he's A. The question is he above or below Zola? And I feel like I'll let you make that decision.
Would put him below Zola, just because in terms of splash capacity, like Zola's just higher up there.
And Zola also brings a nice tactics card as well, doesn't it, with Hydra?
Well, only to Hydra, but yeah.
Yeah.
Him bringing a tactic card to Hydra is less impactful than Strucker bringing a leadership to Hydra, right?
Fair. Yeah, fair. An A is for...
arrogance.
There we go.
But you have to hold the A like you're really unsure of what you're about to say.
Yeah.
It's his accent.
Yeah. The third of our Barons, and easily the best Baron in the game. Arguably Quinn.
Before we start talking about him, shall we just put him in S?
Oh, I mean, let's just put him straight to the top of S tier. So he's in his place.
We start talking about how good he is. Good.
And people may often ask this because, again, this is where a little bit of like, he doesn't have a lot of fancy things on his card. He's quite a basic character. He was in the original core box, right? So this is one of the oldest characters in the game. But 3/3/4 stat line is really good. He's got strategic genius. Sword Strike and Steel Rush are two very good attacks. But for me, Quinn, the big thing is his charge. He has a 2-cost charge with a long move, which is just really good.
And he's hitting you with minimum 5 dice with a reroll that has a wild bleed. It's pretty good.
Master Swordsman as well, Quinn, right? Both defense and offensively against those physical attacks. Rerolling any of your dice. And the way that dice rolls work in MCP, it's a little bit different. The same dice can be rolled multiple times by different effects. So, with Master Swordsman, what you do is you use that first and roll everything that you want, and then you've still got his strategic genius roll. So what I will say is he's very consistent in what he does. Counter-Strike's nice, right? Somebody attacks him and they've got 1 or 2 health left. Yeah, why not? Have a little
It might give your opponent pause for thought, I know it's not how the odds actually work in terms of maths, but it feels like 9 times out of 10 you do nothing with it.
Yeah, exactly. But he's just... I don't know if there's a 3-threat that'll go above him in this list. I'm racking my brain.
There is maybe one contender.
There's only maybe one contender, but it's not for a while yet. And it's probably in part 2.
We should mention I Am a Baron.
Oh, of course. I Am a Baron. Oh my word. Card. So this is a new card that came with the new Zemo. But because he is Helmet Zemo, he can also use it. It's a free card to use, and then you get to do one of 3 things. You can re-roll any number of dice equal to the round number. You can gain power equal to the round number, or remove damage equal to the round number. So you have a decision to make, Quinn, don't you? You can play it early and get that early turn 1 charge, or you can leave it until later in the game, get more power or remove more damage. Rarely do I see it being used for rerolls.
No, I've never seen it used for rerolls.
I don't think it's something he needs.
My personal preference for it is the heals.
The heal is really
good. Going, I'm on my last legs. Play that suddenly. I've only taken 1 damage. Is a huge swing in attrition.
Yeah. So he was already S tier, and that card makes him even better. And S Quinn is for
Superior Swordsman.
Ooh.
Also, out of interest, because he's an S tier character, what do you think AMG could do to like just touch him down a bit, bring him more into line with that bell curve?
It's really difficult because one of the things that makes him, and I'm just pouring some more checks here as we have this conversation. There's a couple of things that make him a little. I don't want to use the word egregious actually, because he's not doing things like Malekith was, for example, right? Or Cosmic Ghost Rider. It's a bit more under the radar in terms of how good he is.
Like you said, he's just very, very consistent in what he does, right?
So I think, I mean, what could you do? Well, you could make Master Swordsman be just one or the other. So he can only use it on attack or defense. And then Strategic Genius is then the other. So let's say that Master Swordsman is a defensive ability. You would make Strategic Genius the offensive reroll. So he's not able to stack them as much.
But then you have to change Strategic Genius across the board, right? Because it's not just an ability that's on Zemo's card.
You just change the name of it. Like, it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, you know.
You know what I would do to address Zemo?
Go on.
I'd take something away, but I'd give him something as well, right? I'd knock him down to a medium move. Because long move charge on a 3 threat is a bit good. Right?
It's very good.
He can just be a little bit too omnipresent. But as restitution for taking that away from him, I'd throw a Pierce onto Skill Rush.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, take with one hand, give with the other. Like that's the kind of balancing approach I like to see from AMG when things are too good.
And I think he would still be very good.
Oh, he'd still be very, very good.
You know, because he's still got, you know, a free move, really good action economy. I don't mind that at all. I do not mind that at all.
The only thing I'd contemplate about it and probably would want to playtest if I were in that position is, would you need to bump up Steel Rush by a power and maybe give it an extra dice as recompense for that bump? Just because he range 3 on that with a Pierce is a lot, you know?
Does it become range 2?
Maybe.
Because he's only like, it's only a sword, right? And the rush bit is
because he moves after it, the thought is that like he starts the attack at range 3 but ends potentially closer, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think it's it's something around there then, isn't it? Yeah, but
yeah.
Also 4 Mystic is very high for a 3 threat when your 3's on the others. And you know,
I think if he had it like higher stamina than regular, it would be a bit egregious. But like, having a slight defensive bump is fine for the most part.
Yeah. No, I think all good ideas, Quinn. Okay. Next up then, Quinn, is Henry McCoy, aka Beast. And I think Beast is a character that is so close to being really good, and actually being really good that you could see him splashed. But he's just got a couple of things.
He's got one thing in particular wrong
that really let him down. And let's talk about that first, Quinn, because we've spoke about it a lot. Acrobatic Strike. You look at it and go, range 3, 5 strength, right? Power equal to damage dealt. And then ambush, I get to place within one of the character. That's really nice. The problem is, it's not a May. So if you roll the wild, you have to place within one, which could mean that you're off a point.
And it's not guaranteed is the issue. If it was guaranteed to happen, or it was a May, either end of that spectrum, it would be fine. But because you don't know, it just leads to some situations where you're like, oh, great, I've actively been screwed over by making this attack, which is not something you want to be an unintended effect of an attack.
Yeah.
And it's very clearly unintended.
Yeah,
Like, nothing about the rest of his design screams that it was intentional that that attack be, like, unreliable.
yeah, and then everything else, Quinn, is really good.
Oh,
Animalistic
amazing.
freestyle is a really nice spender, right? Displace your opponent, and you then get to to make an advance. Baser instincts. We spoke about the lack of characters that have terrain and enemy character throws. Yes, it's only size 2, but that's fine.
It's also only 2 power.
Only 2 power. See, I wouldn't mind that being 3 and size 3. I think that could be quite nice. Stars and Garters is really good, right? Spend X, roll up to 3 based on power spent. Disconcerting yet provocative, cool. If you roll a fail, it doesn't feel that bad because guess what? You're getting an extra power for it. Wall crawler, medium base, medium move. You see him a lot or you did see him a lot under Storm because of that medium base. Whether Angels replaced him or not, I'm not sure. 4-2-3, I'm fine with that, right? Yes,
It's still 9 overall, and because he can re-roll it, the 2 isn't that bad on energy.
Yeah. But just that acrobatic strike, you look for. We spoke about Zemo consistency, right? You don't want to have to do something that you don't want to do, or it's not even that, knowing whether or not you're going to do it before you make the attack. And I think that does push him down quite a bit. I think if that ambush was just to add the word may in, I think he'd be up there, top end of B, bottom end of A in terms of what he did. But I just think, and it sounds like such a small thing, but in this game you are talking about small margins, and because of that, he probably does do enough to stay in B. But it's further down.
In B,
it's further down than what he would have been.
Yeah, I would put him sandwiched between Angel and Ant-Man, personally.
I think that's fair. And B, Quinn?
Is for Baser Instinct.
There we go.
Like, if they've got a thing on the card that begins with it, then it's just going to be that.
Yeah. Felicia Hardy next, Quinn, a.k.a. Black Cat, a character who used to be S tier. Because she was ridiculously good.
Not only was she ridiculously good, but she missed the initial nerve to steal abilities, right?
She did.
And that's why she was theirs.
So the steal ability now, Quinn, I think is perfectly fine. I have no issue with it. It's range 1. It costs an action. So then the most she can then do is a long move and a range 2 place. Which,
say the most she can then do, like, that's not an obscene amount of movement.
But she's still not, she's not able to double move and then jump away, right? Which is far away. At least you can track her down. One of my problems with her is she's surprisingly tanky because of that bad luck. She is very hard to take down.
Crits to modifications as a whole is huge.
And actually, what she lost with Master Burglar or Master Cat Burglar becoming an action, she gains in the fact that she's got stealth, so you have to be within range 3 of her. And cards that stop that have now disappeared in the form of, was it Mark for Death? Was the card
Mark for Death
took stealth away?
A card that never should have been removed for rotation.
Yeah.
Amazing card.
No exploding crits and no dice modification makes it really hard to take her down.
It just leaves you with whatever you rolled, pretty much.
And in a lot of situations, you're having to move to get to her. So there's one of your actions, and then it's a single attack.
Or if, she's in Web Warriors, she can just spider track her away. And
that as well. I actually think bad luck is more egregious than Master Cat Burglar ever was. And I still think she's very, very good. And I think a lot of people, and I think this happens a lot, when a character has something taken away, they're quote unquote nerfed, right? They almost get discarded because like, oh, that character's been nerfed now. And it's like, just because a character's been nerfed doesn't mean that they're not good anymore. And I think she definitely falls into that category. 3s across the board, right? 5 stamina, but like I say, no rerolls. So no dice modification whatsoever, and no exploding crits.
And has the capacity to give out guaranteed stagger for 2 power on a spender.
Oh my word.
Lest we forget.
Yep. Stagger, steal, jump. Good night.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, I think, Quinn, I think she does enough to get into S tier. Because
I mean, we also haven't mentioned Cat and the Spider.
Oh, Cat and the Spider.
Which, with Spectacular Spider-Man being another 3 threat, is a lot more doable in terms of like squad construction.
Yeah, so that's... Go and watch the midline extract video that I did, turn 1 safe extracts. I think she goes in S. I don't think she beats out
She's not as good as
the
Zemo,
OG.
She's still in a position where she needs a little bit of a tweak from AMG yet again. And I think
I think dice modification needs to be taken off her, as in stopping
that,
it.
or like you need to do something to her power economy. Like I would either something to her power economy or something about her being able to run away. Like, because it's so simple for a Black Cat player to go, cool, I'll go with them last on turn 1. I'll then go with them at some point during round 2 after maybe someone's thrown an attack into them or they've gained power in some way, shape, or form, and go, I steal, I move. And doing a steal with a long move afterwards is pretty egregious when you have stealth.
Yeah.
I would not mind Felicia getting the Zemo treatment
of a medium move.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a potential. And it turns off the turn 1 extract play. It turns off a lot of things for her, doesn't it?
Does it stop the turn 1 extract play? Because doesn't she have to be within 2 of Spider-Man to get thrown by him?
It's the throw.
Yeah.
It just means that she can't quite get back as far, but it's still a medium move back. And that's absolutely fine.
Because you're investing 2-3 threats in the card in a midline extract. That's fine.
So it doesn't turn off the extract play,
But it's more the issue of her stealing things and then just running into a corner with them, which, as people well know, is my least favourite thing about MCP and its play patterns.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe increasing the cost of her spender. Because, taking an action...
It to, like, 3 cost, but it can do damage, like more than 1 damage.
I'd be fine with that. Yeah, because it's not the damage that you're looking for, right? It's...
Yeah.
I don't think you... I mean, do you make it do damage? It still costs 2, but it needs to do damage to
get the stagger.
Get the stagger. Like,
I still think it'd need to cost 3. Like, 2 cost spenders are always in a precarious territory, much like Zemo Steel Rush, right?
Well, because they're guaranteed round 2.
Where they're just a little bit too attainable a lot of the time,
No, I do think you're right. Esquin is 4.
Selena Kyle knockoff.
I was going to say Selena
and Catwoman came first, right?
Oh, God, but yeah, every Marvel character came after a DC character. Is Selena a C or an S?
No, it's an S.
Is it an S? Okay,
yeah,
we'll allow it.
In like every iteration I've ever seen it like spelled, it's been an S.
That's fine. Black Panther, Chosen of Bast. Next,
a newer 3 threat.
A newer 3 threat. Comes in. It doesn't come in the Warrior Falls pack, does it? That's
No, he
King
comes with
T'Challa.
Namor.
It comes with Namor. I've played quite a bit of Black Panther, this version of him. I think he is a great splash choice. If you want some mystic attacks, very consistent, stealth, he's got a pounce, superior agility, so enemies can't modify attack dice. Small base, medium move. But his damage output on that Spirit Predator, if you get the finisher up.
Medium base, isn't he?
Oh, okay. So medium base, medium move. That Spirit Predator is so good. Like, really good with the finisher. It's a similar thing to what Sabretooth has. In fact, it might be the exact same attack with the finisher.
So, maybe Sabretooth's one has a bleed on it. Something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like there's more text on Sabretooth's one, but I could be imagining it.
And the fact that he's got a weird one where he can re-roll when he's interacting. Which
is really impactful on something like Sword.
Yep.
I think also mathematically, if he has 2 power, he is better than a 4 defense dice character on the flips that require you to roll defense dice, like Meteors and Madman. Like, so, you know, there's something there. Also, he has access to 3 cards.
He does have access to 3 cards.
2 cards that are for T'Challa and 1 that's for him specifically.
Yeah, so we've got Bast's Blessing, which is obviously the Wakanda-only one. I feel like probably taking a different version of T'Challa if you're in Wakanda, right? So I think, less so with this one. He's then got Wisdom of the Ancestors, where you spend 3 power, and then when you roll attack, defense, or dodge dice, you count failures as successes for the round, which, a card that lasts the entire round is quite nice. And then what is his one? It's Strength and Cunning.
Team up with M'Baku.
Yeah, Strength and Cunning. Which again is a Wakanda only card. And it's a team up throw card, right?
The gist of it is enemy picks up objective, you play the card for however much power. M'Baku throws himself into the character that picked it up, and then if he managed to land in contact with them, Chosen Bast gets to advance towards the character.
Yeah, a medium move, towards them. So a couple of Wakanda cards there. I think if you were taking one of his, it would be the reroll one. I think it's fine.
Not the reroll, the counting skulls, you mean?
Sorry, the rerolls, counting skulls. Yeah, counting skulls. I like him. Like,
he's all right.
I do like him. I think one of the things that he struggles with is the fact that he has 2 T'Challas that he's fighting against 4 places. So, Avengers, well, you're probably not taking him there. There's probably a better 4-cost option.
He is a Midnight Sun, though, which means he does get access to Siege of Darkness.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good with a 5 dice Mystic. But also, I'll tell you one thing he's got going for him over the other T'Challas.
Go on.
He has by far and away the best one.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
Right. So good.
It's a really nice model. I'm toying with him, Quinn, being top end of B, top to middle B. Or does he do? I don't think he does enough to get into A.
I don't think so. Like, he's not a character I would see splashed, nor is he a character that I think should be splashed. I'd put him at top of B. Like, he's better than Angel in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, that feels like a fine place for him.
I think that's perfectly fine for him. Yeah. And B, Quinn, is for?
Bast.
Fair. Just straight line hitting. Let's not think about anything. Black Widow, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Natasha Romanoff. We spoke about how much we liked her 2-threat counterpart. This is obviously the 3-threat version. 433 still has stealth, has parting shot.
First instance of interrogate.
First instance of interrogate, so can score extra VPs. So that happens in the cleanup phase. If there is an enemy that is dazed within range 2, you spend 3 power, and you get to use you get to claim an extra VP. Look, pistols with rapid fire, fine. Tear gas, yeah,
not so fine.
And then Widow's Kiss, 1 dice
Also
for each special
not fine.
condition. I just think there's a 2-threat version that's in all the same places.
There's also a 4-threat version now who is amazing.
Yeah, and I think that character, the fact that she's not only competing against 3 threats, she's competing against 2 other characters with the same name, just means that she's not seen a lot. I think gonna go about Quinn and say that she needs.
She definitely needs help.
She needs help, and I think, are we putting her in D tier?
I don't quite think she deserves D tier, because D tier to me suggests that there is very little redeemable on the card itself, and there are some things to like about her card. It's just she needs to have more to her in order to address the fact that there are 2 other versions of her at different threat brackets that are more competitive threat brackets, right?
Yeah. So I think, I agree with that. So I think we're sort of talking.
There are so many
C
threes in the
tier.
game. Her being a 3, yeah. I think she's a C-, and she could do with something to bump her up, something to do with her other 2 attacks aside from the pistols. I think could help her a lot. Just to get it'd be nice if she had a way to move off the back of attacking to then get in range for an interrogate, for example.
Yeah.
Some kind of mobility would definitely help her.
Yeah, maybe a hit and run.
Or
maybe she has hit and run.
Or you stick one of those long moves you've stolen off Zemo and Black Cat, and you whack it on her.
I wouldn't mind a long move on her, to be honest with you. I think that'd be fine. But yeah, just a little bit, and it's a compounding effect, right? Isn't it? It's she's not quite there. There's also 2 characters that she's struggling against, and every other 3 threat.
She does have some cards, but none of them are particularly noteworthy.
Yeah, also
she
worth
has a
noting
really difficult to set up steel card, and she can move people with not climbing gear.
Vertical assistance, isn't it? Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. Sequin is for could do better.
C is for Crimson Cubicle, which is the knockoff Red Room.
The Temu Red Room.
Yes. Temu Red Room, where this Widow was trained.
There we go. Okay, Quinn, we've mentioned his name once already, but it is Captain America Sam Wilson. One of the, at one point, the best leader for Avengers, arguably the best leader in the game at one point, because he was just everywhere. Sam's pretty good,
I'm a Steve supremacist, which sounds bad, but I love Steve.
His shield throw is exceptionally good. With the throw, with the
flat
pushes.
Power gainer with a ricochet, ignores cover is pretty cool.
Yeah, Red Wing Assault is fine, but I often feel like he wants to do a lot more of his other stuff that he's spending power on than Red Wing Assault.
If it didn't require him to do damage for the throw, it'd be amazing.
It'd be much better.
And it'd be more in line with some of the other winged characters in this threat bracket, right?
Yeah. Charge, long move. We've already spoke about how good it is on Zemo.
Charge, long move, range 4 attack
Yeah.
that can bounce.
I
Like,
do
he's got
feel
reach.
like, though, the charge, long move on Sam is, because he's doing less damage, is less egregious than the
he's
Zemo.
less consistent as well in terms of getting that ricochet, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Airlift is nice, get somebody back into place. And then Vibranium Shield, right? Just gives him a little bit of extra damage reduction. Sorry, a little bit, reduce the damage by adding 2 dice. Only works on energy and physical, though, which, again, is fine. It's not a mystic barrier, so you would expect that. His leadership is pretty good. When an allied character is dazed or KO'd, another character gets to remove a damage, one special condition, and then can advance. But it can only be used once per... A character can only use it once per round. But it's quite nice, right? Everyone's probably heard of the terminology Sam spam. So you just go as wide as you can at whatever threat level you are, and you just swamp the board, basically, getting people up. You don't mind if they go down because other characters are able to move up and retake their position and things. He's very good, Quinn. I also think he is, whereas a lot of leaders aren't used as splash, and when I use the word splash, but like either in affiliation under another leader or just taken elsewhere, you do see Sam taken elsewhere, and you do see him played under something like a Steve 1, for example, because that round 1 charge is exceptionally good. I think he's just very good all round, but I don't think he's like a very good character that needs anything taken away from him.
He's very good all round, but he's not egregious. He does also have a pretty good tactic card in the form of Bird of Prey.
Bird of Prey is pretty good.
Him really mess someone's day up. I think. Yeah, he's just relatively fair. Like,
all round fair. Yeah. So does it mean, do we think that he doesn't quite do enough to get into that S tier, or is he still there, but like we're fine with him being there?
Like, it's an interesting thing in terms of how we're quantifying S tier, right? Because if S tier is these are the characters that AMG need to look at, along with D tier being that same, extreme, just the other way round, then that means that Sam has to be like A+, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need looking at. Like, he's fine. And I think because of that, and because I think that is more helpful as a visual representation of characters, I think he has to go top of A.
Yeah, but I think he's at the top
at the end of this tier list in like 7 videos time, you can look at it and be like, right, those characters are a bit too good. Those characters are in dire straits and need help. And then everything else is shades of grey.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. A is for?
Avengers.
I'd love to see a...
You know what? A is for Anthony Mackie. There you go.
Oh, there we go. I would like to see an original version of him. What's his character actually called? Falcon, yeah. I would like to see a Falcon.
Actually called Captain America, right?
Clear.
D.
Oh, Clear.
D.
Any character who can kill herself.
The release weekend for this character, I saw someone do it. And do you know who that someone was, Rich?
Please tell me it was Gil.
No, it was Ron Walker.
Oh, dearie me. I said Gil because Gil...
the first game he played with them.
I said Gil. I actually meant Marcus Gill, not Gil. Because I know Marcus...
Why do you think I was at an event that Gil was at?
Because in my head I was like, Marcus played a lot of Convocation early doors, which is why I said... But yeah, Marcus Gill, not Gil Sarepi. Both lovely people, by the way. Yeah, and she's got things that like... Why is her throw 3 when it's only size 2. I mean, I suppose it's range 3, but like, yeah, just not a fan.
If Descent of the Fall Team wasn't an action, but she still ran the risk of killing herself,
I'd be fine with it.
I think that would be a lot more interesting. I'd also bump her up a physical die minimum. Like, there's no reason she needs to be a 2. Like, she doesn't have the same kind of stacking of defenses that Mordo has, right? She's still a die down compared to Mordo. And she has no defensive tech whatsoever. In fact,
the only defensive tech she's got is she's immune to incinerate. That's it.
She has negative defensive tech because she can hurt herself.
There we go. Does she have a card? I feel like she
think so.
Doesn't. No, she doesn't.
No,
she doesn't have a card. There's no saving her here.
There's no reason she needs to be 4 attack dice. Like, her spender doesn't need to be 6. Like, there are so many things wrong with Clear. Like, this is like
don't get me wrong.
AMG ran a challenge to design a character in the most wrong way possible.
Like, Icy Tendrils of Icthalon, like, if you get all of the triggers, it's really good, right? Because you've slowed, stunned, and staggered your opponent. But it's so hard to get.
In the same vein, if you roll, like, 4 crits into 4 wilds with Demon Claws of Dendak, it's great.
It's really good. Yeah. Just not good enough. Another OG character of the... sorry, no. Let's do this one first. Because it's just the order that they've done them in. Crossbones, Merciless Merc, Brock Rumlow. So the newer version of Crossbones. And they fixed all his problems, right? He now gets about the board a little bit. He can do... oh, no, wait. No, he can't.
Almost like they made the exact same character.
I mean, the only thing he's got is hit and run. But
he's
even
got a beam now?
The beam...
Like, the beam isn't nothing.
Why does it need a fail?
If
for
the
the
beam
Pierce?
didn't need a fail, it'd actually be a pretty good, like, builder attack.
But, yeah, up close and personal is actually not a bad attack. Like, eight dice.
2, though.
I know.
Like,
small base, nice. Short move.
Like, if he had something to spend his power on with that beam, because he can generate a fair bit with it. If he had something interesting to spend it on, like, if he had, like, a pounce by a different name and could throw himself into someone, like, call it, like, unfettered aggression, and he throws himself at people. Like, something.
Yeah.
Anything.
I mean, he's got his card, Dig In, for Cabal. He gets to re-roll any number of defense dice.
Ooh.
And he cannot be moved by enemy or allied effects.
Uh-huh.
On a good character, that'd be a decent card. But yeah. They've missed the boat.
Also, just because we're at this point in the video, Phil, stop typing. I don't care whether you're typing in the comments or typing a DM. Stop typing. Stop it.
And he doesn't even get access to the other 2 cards, right? Does this version? He doesn't get the Ashen Cinder, and he doesn't get the illicit tech.
He can't be mates with Sin, can he?
He can't be mates with Sin.
Does husband and wife work at least? Please tell me the husband and wife works.
I don't know if it does.
Let's have a look. I'm skipping ahead a bit to have a look at Sin.
Let's have a quick look at Sin.
Cynthia. No, nope. It doesn't work. It says Crossbones.
Doesn't work on that either. So,
yikes.
Yeah. The question is, Quinn, is he better or worse than Clear?
He's better than Clear, because nothing's as bad as Clear. I'd argue he's, like, better than Widow.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we've got other Crossbones yet, and he needs to go lower.
We do have other Crossbones. C is for?
Couldn't be bothered to make a good character.
Okay.
Couldn't be bothered to improve.
OG Crossbones, who does have husband and wife with Sin, but only one way round, right?
Yeah. He has wife and husband.
I actually think Inured to Pain is better because it works on everything.
It works on everything and it's minimum 0.
He does have aggressive,
Pretty good.
which is, strike, fine. Overpower, fine. Haymaker, yeah, fine. Like, it's expensive. It's expensive.
You can tell he was in the first call box.
Yeah. 422 is like, bleh.
It's grim.
Yeah.
Also, he's 6'5". Why does he go down and sound?
Why does he go down?
How does he somehow get worse?
He can use illicit tech. He can use to Ash and Cinder. Illicit tech's not a bad attack, right?
Okay, he can use illicit tech, but equally so can Sin.
This is true.
And as bad as Sin is, she's better than he is.
Does it need both of them? I don't think it does it?
No.
No, it's the other one that needs them both to Ash and Cinder.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just really bad.
Yeah.
And his biggest problem is he is an up-close and personal character, and he has no way, other than if you attack him, to get closer towards you. Like, yeah. It's... I mean, why is overpower only 5 dice?
3 of you. Because of Haymaker. Like, that's the only reason. And even then, like, him spending, 6 power to roll 9 dice? 9?
Yeah, 9 dice.
9 dice at someone.
No, 8 dice. 8 dice, because it's only 3 dice extra.
I'm saying if it was, like, 1x.
Okay.
If it was a 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why does he need a wild for the throw on it? Like, that's just grim.
Yeah. Very, very bottom end character.
Yeah.
He's D tier, right?
I think so. Like, and he's so bad that they didn't even bother trying to fix him. They just made another one, and it was still bad.
Slightly better, but still bad. This side of clear, do we think?
I think so. Like, he's still not as bad as Clear. He can't kill himself.
No. Crystal next.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, sorry. D is for...
Didn't realise he was in the films. There you go.
Did you not realise he was in the films?
Not until, like, after MCP came out, and it was pointed out to me that he was actually in the films.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's the guy from the Purge movie, one of the Purge movies.
The guy who looks like, what's his face from Spartacus?
Yes. Yeah. I can't think of his name either, but yes.
I know that guy plays Azog in the Hobbit films.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
That's him, yeah.
Okay, Quinn, with the alphabet out of the way, now onto Crystal. Crystalia Amaquelin. They do have good names in the on the moon, don't they? They've got pretty good names on the moon.
The ladies of the moon have good names.
The ladies of the moon have good names, yeah.
The ladies of the moon sounds like a really good band.
Inhumans and A-Force, I want to say, her options.
Yeah, I think those are her too, yeah.
Interesting character, a whole array of attacks. She does have the elemental onslaught, so she can make 3 attacks in a turn. An area 1 attack I've always found just hilarious. Like, why? Like, why?
Given that she has no range 2 attacks as well, it's not like it would be competing for something else.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But all of her attacks are flat gainers.
Yep.
Which does mean that elemental onslaught is much easier to achieve, especially with her.
They've got lower dice pools, but they all have her Inhuman reroll attached.
They do, yeah. So 1 defense or 1 attack reroll. Flight, immunity to poison, long move. I think she's fine. Like,
She's like one of the primary drop-off targets in A-Force.
yeah, yeah. You see her in
on this
Inhumans. You know, she's there. What did you say?
Dear.
Did you say D tier?
No, I said, do you? As in, do
Oh.
you see her in Inhumans?
I thought you said D tier. I think she's fine in Inhumans. Like, you know, she generates a lot of power, so she can push the power around. But then Lockjaw exists, so you know. I think she's just fine, Quinn. Like, she's not exceptional, middle of the road. Like,
Yeah, but she's that awkward brand of just fine that isn't really just fine, you know?
What's that elemental infusion card she's got?
Like she has an aura of damage doing conditions, but it's like it's pretty expensive.
It costs 2 power until this character is dazed or until the end of this round. When an enemy character that is within 3 of crystal suffers damage from an allied effect, after the effect is resolved, it gains incinerate, stun, or slow. Huh?
Right.
I wonder if with some of the she'd have been a great servant of Apocalypse, right? Like she'd have been really good, but you're never really taking anyone outside of the Horseman, I think.
Yeah. Does feel like she's just a little bit lackluster, you know?
Who is she competing against? I mean, Lockjaw is the obvious one in Inhumans.
Lockjaw, Beast, Quicksilver, Kamala.
Yeah. A-Force.
And let's not even talk about the A-Force 3.
Yeah.
Valkyrie's one of them.
Yeah. And like you say, Drop-Off used to be... Or not Drop-Off, what's it called?
Special Delivery.
Special Delivery.
Special Delivery would be, you know, it would be something worth considering her for if She-Hulk wasn't also really lackluster.
Yeah.
Like...
So I think maybe with all that, like top end of C, bottom end of B.
I think if we're putting her in C, we need to drag Mordo down with her. Because I refuse to put her lower than Mordo, but equally, I feel like maybe Mordo needs to go down.
I'm fine with her being here. May.
Tell you what, put her there, and then bump Mordo down.
Yeah, that probably feels about right.
Like, that feels more reasonable.
Oh, shall I talk about this next one, Quinn? Sorry, and B is for...
Base on the Moon.
And C is for...
Carl with a C.
Perfect.
I had that one prepared from when we were talking about Mordo.
Excellent. Oh my God, Dark Star.
I'll just let you talk about her for a while.
She is a really good character, but the problem is she cannot generate any power. That's her biggest issue. She actually has 2 really good superpowers, right? One reactive, one active. She's got quite a nice spender if somebody does get up close and personal. If Dark Force Strike was power equal to damage dealt, and she just had like an innate reroll rather than reroll all.
What if it had a sap?
Sap would be fine. I'd be fine with it being a power and a sap. But yeah, she needs real help. Taskmaster is ahead of her in Winterguard, and he's not affiliated. I think she needs help. I don't think she needs quite as much help as some of the other ones.
No.
So I think for that reason, she goes in D, but she's at the top end of D.
What an accolade!
What an accolade that is! But yeah, she is just like I say, potential, but just cannot generate enough power
Like,
to be able to do
make
all of the
Dimensional
things.
Portal 2 in an action like Lockjaw.
That'd
And
be
like
fine.
Dark Force Barrier can probably like maybe make it range 2 and 2 power.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
give her a sap on the Dark Force strike, and I think she's in a pretty good place.
Yeah. Just lack of power means she's very, very difficult to play with. And D is for Dead on Arrival.
Dark Star.
Dead on Arrival. Deadpool.
Had a bit of a glow up.
Deadpool's pretty good.
Yeah.
He no longer bang, 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 bangs, but he now stabs as well.
Yeah.
He now does stabs. Don't be put off by his 4 stamina on the front because he counts as healthy on his back, so it has less impact.
Still matters for the purpose of him dropping objectives.
It does matter for the purpose
Which
of dropping
I think
objectives.
is a big thing.
Yeah. 3-3-4 stat line. 10 stamina overall, which, you know, is fine. Good offensive output. Yeah, I don't know. There's like, again, there's nothing spectacular on his card, but
all I'd want from him to be genuinely happy with him is for him to be 5-5 instead of 4-6. It's the only change I'd make.
that's fair.
Like, because then it means the healing factor 2 is actually a lot more impactful because he's hanging on by that 1 health quite frequently if he's 5-5. And then suddenly he's going back up to 3 health. Like, that actually matters.
Yeah.
He's got the classic thing of like, oh, you can't move me with mystic attacks. And it's like, there are barely any mystic attacks that move people.
Yeah. At least not readily available, but yeah. Maximum effort's pretty cool on his injured side.
Yeah.
Does all sorts of stuff with it. I think it's on a wild, isn't it? A dance party after this attack is resolved. He advances and then
does
all of the
damage
characters
to
within
2, including
range
him.
2. Yeah.
It's not other characters.
Each other character within 2.
Other character as in not the person he attacks, but it does include him.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So he can poke himself to death, which is quite funny.
Yeah, but he does have healing factor 2, so that damage is probably going to go. Yeah, I thought Deadpool would have been a much better character than he is because it's Deadpool and because of how popular the character is.
People were like, I remember when he first came out, like, or was on the way to being teased. Everyone thought he was a 4 threat. Everyone.
He should be a 4 threat. He stands toe to toe with Wolverine, right, on multiple occasions. He should be a 4 threat. Absolutely.
I'd also argue he should be weirder than he is in terms of what he does.
He's not like...
He's quite dull for Deadpool, right?
Yeah. He's got the rerolls, which is nice. Like, that's fine. So he's consistent. It lets him fish for his own stabs and his own bangs. But yeah, like, doesn't dish out. Does he dish out bleed with his thing? He doesn't. Like, his stab doesn't dish out.
He used to do bleed, I think.
Yeah, like, why doesn't he do bleed? Like,
because there's not enough room on his card.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
There is straight up not enough room to put in another thing that says bleed.
And then I feel like Merc with a mouth. Like, I'll spend 3 and take 2 power off you. Just feels like, I don't know.
If it was 2 for 2, you'd use it a lot more, right?
Do you know what I'd like to see on him? Merc with a mouth becomes when another allied character is dazed or KO'd, he may spend 3 power and make an attack into them. I think that would be perfectly fine on him. Or maybe a 0 cost attack.
but it can't have like the extra attack rules. Like
Yeah,
just
but
some kind of limiter on it. Like
Bucky has it. Bucky has his rapid fire with the rapid fire on it.
yeah, and they nerfed Bucky back into the ground, lest you forget.
He is in the ground now. Yeah, I just think. By the way, and with all of that said and done, I think Deadpool is perfectly fine from just a personal standpoint. I just don't feel like he represents Deadpool very well. And
Yeah, like in terms of actual balance, he ranges from like fine to good depending on where you're playing him. Because if he gets a Horseman card, he's actually pretty good.
Yes,
Because he can
he's
also
famine,
be one of the more important Horsemen.
famine or war. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, he's in some interesting affiliations as well, and I think he is a bit of a staple of the ones he's in. You do see him quite a lot, but then I think it's people like Deadpool. That's why you see him
exactly. There's
quite
a bit
a lot.
of like confirmation bias to how often he's taken.
I think he's B tier. I think
so,
he probably sits in B. Oh, let's also talk about his tactics cards, right? Because
Yoink and Chimichanga.
they are terrible.
Like, they're where I think AMG wanted to do the weird, goofy Deadpool stuff, but instead it was just like, what the fuck is this?
Yep. So Deadpool made Chimichangas spend 1 power. He now has the Chimichanga token. And at the end of his activation, if he's holding a token, he gains power and removes 1 damage or a special condition. A character that already has healing factor 2.
I think that it should cost 0, because then it means you can still go and pick something up round 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
then
he still drops it when he dies, and then people can pick it up, and it's like, oh, fun thing of like, who's got the Chimichanga?
Yeah. And then Yoink. I'm not a fan really of any of these. If you do this, then you do this card. You do this, you do this card. Especially like the enemy one. If it's an enemy Bob,
you remove can pick Bob's token, right? But like Bob's never gonna have the token. Like there is no world in which a Bob player allows Deadpool to get anywhere near Bob without firing that rocket off.
Yeah.
And once he's fired it once, he's never getting it back.
It's Yoink could have been so much better. I mean, Yoink steal something from your opponent, right?
And then that would then justify him being 4/6, right?
Exactly.
Because he's got a steal, but as a counterpoint, he's very easy to take down.
Yeah, a la Quicksilver, right? Something like that. You make an attack, you do damage. If you do, guess what? You get to play this card and steal something from your opponent. But yeah, just not good enough. In terms of his cards, overall, balanced character. I'm going to say somewhere in between like Bast and Angel feels about right.
I was going to put him on either side of Beast, so I'm happier for like between Beast and Angel.
There?
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Perfectly fine with that.
Like, if Angel didn't have his cards, he'd be better than Angel, right?
Oh, yeah, I agree. And B Quinn is for?
Ballerina.
Okay. OG Dr. Octopus. A character who
so good.
I will fight tooth and nail for and say one of the most underrated 3 threats in the game. 4/3/4 stat line. Ox clutches. He's got a size 2 throw, enemy or feature. Yes, it costs 3, but scientific hubris makes it that much easier for him to get
also
it.
6 stamina when he flips.
6 when he flips. Strike, he loses a dice because it's range 3 and the flurry of arms.
And it has the wild,
meaning it's good. Arm lasers, ignores line of sight, doesn't benefit from cover with a pierce.
Team up card with Goblin.
Very good team up card with Goblin. I always forget the name of it. It's Well Laid Plans, right?
Yeah.
It's actually unaffiliated. You don't need to be in Spider-Foes to play this. You're going to
If you're
be.
playing it, it means you've got Goblin, which means you're in foes.
I know, but I think he's very underrated. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people just look at him and think, because again, there's nothing particularly spicy on his card. And I think people then think, oh, well, he's obviously not that good, but I think he's solid. Like,
Yeah,
really, really solid.
he does a job and he does it pretty damn well. Like, I think I'd whack him top B for me.
I was
He
just
is.
going to say, I think he does enough. He doesn't do enough to get into A, but I
No.
think he does enough. And there are still situations where I will play OG version of Doc Ock over the new version.
Yeah.
And I think he's perfectly solid. B Quinn stands for
Brain chip.
okay.
He's
Okay.
got the brain chip, hasn't he?
He does
Well,
have the
no.
brain chip.
Brain chip breaks. That's what makes him go all mental. Because he's supposed to. Yeah, because he has the chip in his brain that stops the arms from interacting.
Stops the arms from
makes
taking
it a one-way
over.
street.
Yeah.
Then it breaks, and that's what makes him go a bit. And
Yeah,
then
goes a bit
in
nuts.
No Way Home, Peter fixes it.
And he ends up being a bit of an anti-hero, doesn't he, in that? Spoiler alert for a film that came out 3 years ago. I don't know.
2, I think.
What-
It was 2002, I want to say.
Long enough.
2002? No,
I don't think it was 2002.
Yeah.
Maybe the original movie was in was
Original was
2002.
I think.
Nina Thurman, aka Domino. I'm going to sit back with and I'm going to let you tell everyone why she's S tier.
Right. First of all, she can turn fails into crits. That's real good. Second of all, she's got rapid fire on her builder, which means that you get twice as many attacks where you can turn fails into crits. Also, she's got a grenade that does guaranteed incinerate from range 4 for 1 power.
With an explosive.
With an explosive, and also lucky shot if you've got the power but not the actions can be pretty good for just trying to dump dice into someone.
Also, no crits. Don't get to...
No crits into her, and also her failure manipulation works defensively too.
It does indeed.
She's just good.
And dodge, by the way. It works on all three, attack, defense, or dodge.
Also, she's on the best version of Recal Matrix.
Yep. This is
She's
also
her at
true.
the crap stable.
So she's S tier, right? She's very... I think she is. I think she is, but I think she's towards... Is she egregious enough? I don't think she is.
Below Sam. I think Sam is better than her. Because Sam has all of that mobility going for him. I think she's very good in her affiliations. But she's
you
not...
don't see her splashed.
I mean, you might if someone's doing something janky, but I think she's just below Sam in terms of power level.
She doesn't have a card either, does she?
Not that I recall.
Let me just check. I don't believe she does. No, she doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think. In my head, I was like, is she better? Yeah, but...
Yeah.
Because that things tend to go my way is just crit explosions.
Yeah,
it's not like Black Cats where it's dice manipulation either, is it? So, yeah. And A is for...
Agent of Fate.
Oh.
Ooh, mysterious. Ooh.
Shall I take the next one, Quinn?
Go on, off you go.
My boy Drax. Underestimated by everyone. Just does work.
Whoa. Not everyone. I perfectly estimate him.
You do perfectly estimate him. 3-3-2, but 6 stamina on his front and 6 stamina on his back, so 12 in total. And I can take it damage reduction by 1 to a minimum of 1. Terrain and enemy character throw. Size 3.
Size 3 for 3 is real good.
It is really nice.
Yet another example of an overtuned Guardians character.
Blades is really nice, especially when they've already got bleed, because guess what? You get to reroll 2 dice. Driven by vengeance, when somebody attacks him, he gets to put a token on them. Then when he attacks them the next time, he gets 3 extra dice. Titan Killer is really good. Used to be really nice with no matter the cost, because you would take the damage and then do it, but even so, still really nice. Size 4 Throw on a Wild.
6/6, right?
Yeah.
With damage reduction.
Yeah. He is one of the best characters to take in Thralls of Dracula. He is exceptional in Thralls of Dracula.
He moves up to someone, pays one to make them bleed, and then gets rerolls on the attack, right?
And then gets rerolls on the attack, yeah. Hopefully then generating enough power for them to throw at the back end of it or whatever. Lots of displacement, right? He's got a guaranteed push on his headbutt of size 3. Like, I don't use it a lot because there's other things I want to spend power on, but if you just need to guarantee it, then it's really nice.
I think a lot of the time, like, you're better off if you don't have it trying to get the 1 more power to then just throw them.
To do the throw, yeah. I also think he's a great character for one of my favourite 5 threats, which is Ghost Rider, because you're rarely one-shotting Drax. So he gets that extra power generation for Ghost Rider. He's an opening turn for me quite often. He'll walk up, pick up an objective, and he's like, you can come and hit me if you want, but if I survive this, you're going to get slapped next turn. I just think he's really solid. Now, I don't think he's exceptional by any means, right? I think he has his 2 places. They are Guardians and they are Thralls of Dracula. Even in Guardians, he is up against stiff competition. Yeah. Not even necessarily against other 3 threats, which he is because he's up against Groot. Because if you're taking Rocket, you want to take Groot. But you also have the option of taking another 2 threats and then a 4 threat instead of taking a 3 threat. So he does have stiff competition in Guardians, which is why I think you don't see him played as much. He often makes people's rosters, but I don't think he gets as much play time. So because of all that, for me, Quinn, I would put him in B tier, and for me, he's either side of Doc Ock. Like,
I think he's above Ock, just about.
I think with the home that he has in Dracula now, does put him above Doc Ock. Okay, Quinn. Sorry, and then B is for.
Better not tell him you can see him.
You can see him.
No,
I thought you had like an invisibility cloak.
Oh no! Stop talking about it.
Oh, Remy LeBeau.
He thought he was about to make a name for himself.
Yeah. Death and Famine. Some of the he's probably a lesser option for both of those. He just, I get what they were going for. It's just not quite there, is it? 3s across the board, 5/5, I want to say, defensively. Yeah. Mediocre damage output.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, 52 card pickup can be really good with accelerated charge, but then it's 7 power.
It's 7 power, and then you, like, at most have 3 power for a little something extra, but realistically, you don't.
Yeah.
I have an idea for how you fix Gambit.
I'd like to hear it, because I think he does need fixing.
And I think it's something that is far more doable now that another character has done it in Affiliation.
Okay.
Which is you give him a long move.
I think that's fine.
Because the old argument used to be you can't give him a long move, you can't give X-Men an affiliated long move because of Storm. But now Kitty exists, right? Like, so the floodgates are open for long-moving X-Men, right?
Yeah.
Like, you no longer need to hide behind that defense because Shadowcat exists. If you give him a long move, he's got a niche, right? He's a mobile character. He can go in, he can push people off points, he can like throw his aces out, he can get into easier like he has an easier time positioning for 52 guard pickup. Like, yeah. The one thing I do, because if you're giving him something, I do think we need to take one teeny tiny thing away, is I'd add a hit requirement for the push on both staff. I'd make it hit wild.
Yeah. I think that's
just
fine.
because then it means he can't run up to someone with one power, roll a single hit, and go, I turn that to a wild and shove you off. He actually needs to roll at least 2 hits or a hit wild. Like, it requires a combination of something.
Yeah.
I think that long move does a lot for him.
Yeah, he's got a couple of cards, hasn't he? He's got Charming Thief, which is like
Soul Gem.
For a round. He's got Dark Past, which can't be used in X-Men.
Yeah.
Which gives everyone stealth. And then he's got a team-up card with Bishop, which I actually don't mind. During Gambit's activation, he may play this card. It is an action, but then Bishop makes the attack shown above. It's a Strength 6, Beam 3, but it's got a whole bunch of triggers on it.
Yeah. But because it's Bishop making the attack, you don't have Gambit's whole thing of manipulating the rolls.
Well, you don't, but if you roll a crit skull, for example, all skulls become wilds.
Well, yeah.
Which means you then only need one more wild for overcharged, because then they count as 2. And then you've got... There's quite some good synergy there. Like, I think if you are going to play X-Men and you're like, I want to play Gambit, and you want to play Bishop, this card is... I think you're taking this card.
The fact it costs 0 power to do is pretty good.
Yeah, I do like it. But, yeah, with all that said and done, though, Quinn, I think Gambit is C tier. I think he needs...
I think he's top of C tier. Like, he's not quite as bad as Mordo.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind.
I think I'm perfectly fine with that. And then, Quinn, we are going to... Oh, sorry. And then C is for...
I'm going to let you try it because there's a really good one.
Cajun.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go, look. See? We're
or
synced.
You could go with, like, Charming Thief.
Yeah, but Cajun's nicer, right? It's, you know, he's about to make a name for himself. I loved him. I loved Channing Tatum in that. Like, I thought it was really good.
I know this is rich coming from me, but fuck me, did his head look massive in that costume.
It really was, wasn't it? Like,
actually, here's a fun little thing for the viewers. I have a fan casting for MCU Gambit, and I want to see what your take is on it, because I don't know if you remember what it is.
I do not.
Lisan Al Gaib.
I
think he'd make he's French, and he has a small head.
He's quite tiny, though.
But like, Gambit shouldn't be a particularly big dude.
Gambit's tall. Gambit's real tall. He's like 6 foot something. Like,
yeah.
And we all know that casting a height
is 6 foot something.
Yeah. Haven't they confirmed now that Gambit was saved in a deleted scene? Gambit was saved, so he is now technically in the MCU. I don't know.
I am very worried about how they're going to end up doing mutants in the MCU because I feel like they should just make it so they were always a thing and the genes were activated by the blip.
That would
Like,
work. But that then
that would be so much
feels.
easier than doing all the weird stuff.
Yeah, but doesn't that then like take away from a lot of the? Because I feel like becoming like a mutant, it's like a coming of age thing, and a lot of them have like trauma from when they became.
But what you do is you have it so there were always mutants. It's just the blip activated more X genes. And then you have like a big crisis around a bunch of people suddenly like being very different to other people.
I think one of the biggest problems that they've got is Magneto.
Because his entire identity is pretty solidly based around being a Holocaust survivor.
And I don't.
That just keeps getting further and further away the longer they wait to introduce him.
It keeps getting real hard, doesn't it? Unless, I mean, you've got two options, right? And we're going on a tangent
Time
here,
travel,
but why not?
bollocks, like
Time travel, which I'm not a fan of. You can say, I was going to say, you can say that one of his superpowers is he ages slower. You just give him that as a thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. He's 94, but he looks 50, right? Like that could be a thing. And I think I prefer or you take away the Holocaust thing, which I don't think you can do.
No, like it's so integral to him as a character. Like,
but yeah, I'm interested in it. Okay, Quinn. So rounding it out for this video, because we're about a third of the way through, and we're at the almost 2-hour mark, which is long enough for us to spend time with each. You know, we don't need to spend any more time with each other. And I just think any more than
like breaking out in like hives.
But I would as rather take the time to actually talk about the characters rather than just going Drax B because he does this. Let's move on. Let's
Also,
I think
it means that we can like really farm this for content.
we get to farm this. Yeah. But yeah, rounding it out, Quinn, with a pretty good character, Gwen Stacy, aka Ghost Spider.
I dislike how angry this character makes me.
I know, because she does all the things that you don't like. Huge amount of movement, displacement. What else? Stopping you from being able to attack an opponent. And she hits like a truck.
She's so obscenely overtuned. And like, I hate that because I love Gwen Stacy. I think like she's by far and away my favourite Spider-Person. Like,
fair.
She's the coolest Spider-Person. And she has the best theme song out of all of them.
Also fair.
Like, the first 10 minutes of Across the Spider-Verse are so good because they're about her. Yeah, in MCP, I hate seeing her on the table. She just makes my blood boil. Like, so why is she so good?
I actually think she does need a tune. I really do think she needs a tune up. A tune down,
with
sorry.
Her box mate, I am amazed that they have both managed to avoid nerfs for like because they've been out for pretty much the game's entire existence. In fact, I think they were slated to be month 2 releases but got delayed.
Yeah.
Like
she's just too
obscene.
good. Yeah, she just far too much for a 3 threat.
If you give her standard spider senses, she's a 4 threat.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
Like that's it. She's a 4 threat at that point.
So let me ask you what you think needs to be changed. Because I'm fine with the long move.
The long move is like the long move, spider technique, even lifesaver, and freestyle beatdown. They're all fine. Webline is the issue.
Yeah.
Webline should only be able to target a character once per turn, not affect the character once per turn. Like, first of all, that's the first thing that needs to change about it. Second of all, if she's gonna stay a 3 threat, it needs to be size 2. Like, she needs some kind of why can she only push size 2 with impact webbing, but can pull whatever she wants.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she can push. Oh, and she can throw size 3s on freestyle beatdown as well.
Throw size 3 at least makes sense, because in my mind,
It's like
doing
mid.
the pushing with. She's doing the pushing with the webs. She's doing the throwing by physically grabbing someone. You know?
Yeah. So yeah, I do agree. Webline should be. This superpower can only be used once per turn. Like, why?
Oh, you think just not even target character, just it can only be used once?
Well, no, a character can be pushed by the superpower only once per turn.
Yeah, but the issue comes from when you have something that stops that push. She can just pay and do it again. It's not targeted once per turn.
So Indomitable, for example.
Yeah, if you were to play Indom and she's got 2 more power, she just goes, "Cute, thanks for wasting that resource of yours. I'm doing it again."
Yeah, I don't. I think it should be once per turn. I think the superpower should be once per turn.
Oh, and you just are you still in favor of a size restriction in that case, or do you think it's okay to not have it?
I think that's fine. But I just think why is she allowed to move multiple characters in her turn, but Thanos can't, or someone else can't? Like,
it's fair.
I think most superpowers should be limited to once per turn. Like, there's not many that I think
it tends to be that, like, when there's an egregious case of something, it's because something's missing that wording, right?
Yeah.
Like, unless it's integral to how a superpower works in terms of its design, there should be a Shatterpoint style blanket. You can only do it once, right?
Yeah.
Like, that should be a standard, and then there are exceptions to it.
Yeah. But I think, if Webline was once per turn, she would still be good, by the way. She would still be probably in the A's. I would also say that I'd be fine with her advance on Spider Technique being a medium. So she gets a long move and then a medium move. Because it just limits where she can get to.
I'll tell you what I'll propose for you, right? Webline becomes once per turn and size 2 restricted.
Okay.
But Spider Technique stays as it is, but it gets a bump of 1 dice base and loses one of the extra dice it gains.
See, I would prefer that anyway. So it's still 7 overall, but it's 5-2.
Yeah.
I'd be absolutely fine with that. Well,
or
no. Do you know what I would?
Sense as a maker of 4 threat.
Do you know what I would also do?
Go on.
I would remove the gain from impact webbing.
Oh, that's harsh.
I think she generates power too easily. Long move, range 4 attack, guaranteed lifesaver on board.
And then she pulls someone with Webline. But if you make those changes to Webline we've suggested, I don't think it's anywhere near as egregious, and therefore doesn't need that change.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe, because she's still only got certain things she can spend power on.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a character that needs to be looked at. It feels like it's never going to happen because
AMG have massive favoritism towards extract plays. Yeah, I know.
This is true. Well, let's talk about Spider Technique as well. Like, if all webbed up has been used.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. Right. So she's in Esquin.
Oh, by far and away in S.
I feel like she splits the middle and is in between the two that we have in there at the moment. Feels about right? Or do you think she's better than Zemo?
I think it is entirely dependent on where she's played. Because in affiliation, she is so far and away above where Zemo is, it's not even funny. Outside of affiliation, less so, you know? But
I mean, it depends on what affiliation it is, because anything that can give her power...
Yeah, like I mean, just in Web Warriors, like you've got Spider Tracker, you've got All Webbed Up, you've got the camera one.
Oh God,
Like
yeah.
they just add and add and add to make her more and more obnoxious. And I think because of that, like the gains that she has from affiliation are so high that I think even when you consider what she doesn't have outside of it, just the things she gains just outweigh what Zemo can get in his affiliations to the point where I think she goes higher.
Are we putting her
Like,
there?
and also, I'd argue that in terms of player experience, she needs more of a nerf than Zemo does. She
I
needs a
think
nerf more urgently than Zemo does, in my
she
mind.
is a more negative player experience than what Zemo is. I would agree
Yeah,
with that. I Is Black Cat a more negative player experience?
she is, but she isn't to the extent that she outperforms Zemo's
That's fair.
consistency. I
Yeah,
feel.
that is fair. Yeah, I do think Ghost Spider is a negative play experience. I can't believe she's missed any of the nerfs we've
I
ever had.
especially with Web Warrior win rates.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the fact that AMG have never had a little glance at Longshanks and gone, oh, maybe we should do something about this.
I
For
don't think they.
example, making it so it's only spider people that are affiliated.
I don't think they do at all. Right, Quinn. We are going to leave it there for this one. As I mentioned, we are going to be doing part 2. And then indeed now part 3. So keep an eye out for those ones. I don't think some of these characters may get moved around as other characters get added in. But yeah, I think we've highlighted 3 very big problems in the game. I really do hate Ghost Spider. Like, she's just
I
an
hate
absolute.
I hate the rules. I love the character, and
Oh
that
yeah,
makes it
yeah.
worse.
Yeah, that
Like,
is fair. That is fair. So we're going to leave it there for this one, guys. Make sure you head on over to the Discord. Go check out all of the events and other such things that we are running. I want to give a big shout out to all of our Patreons and YouTube members. And if you do want to support us, you can do so from as little as £1 a month. Everything goes back into the channel. And as we know, pays Quinn his monthly wage of. Are we on 1 Malteser now or 2? Did you get a promotion?
I got bumped up to 2.5.
Oh, wow. Okay. I may need to take a look at that. But yeah, if you do want to support us, it's greatly appreciated. But you don't have to support us in that way. Just simply liking, commenting, subscribing really, really does help. And as always, guys, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.
Nerf Web Warriors.